Hello and welcome back everyone, I am the Otaku, and today I'm going to teach you how to not suck at Walker Assault. Walker Assault is a large-scale game mode with a focus on the mighty AT-AT assault vehicles, also known as walkers. Designed to reenact the epic moments in the Battle of Hoth, you will get to experience both sides of the fight in all-out 40-player warfare. But as always, let's start things off by talking about the general objective of the game mode, then stick around for the best strategies and loadouts to help you take down the Empire or crush the rebel scum. Walker Assault is focused on the AT-AT walkers and the rebel ship. The objective is for the Empire to lead their AT-AT to the final location where it can destroy the rebel ship. The rebels need to stop them by destroying their AT-ATs before they can reach it. All of this centers around both teams struggling to keep control of the uplinks on the map. There are usually two of them available at any given time throughout the game, with new ones being used as the game progresses. The rebels' specific objective is to activate these uplinks and maintain them. This will eventually call in air support attacks which will disable the AT-AT's armor, leaving it vulnerable for destruction. The Imperial's specific objective is to deactivate these uplinks and keep them offline to prevent this from happening. The longer each uplink is active, the more air support the rebels can get, and the longer the AT-ATs will be vulnerable in turn. So simply taking the objective at the last moment isn't enough. You should be striving to keep control of it at all times. Objectives in the game mode are taken by getting close to the uplink and then holding down the required button to capture it. Keep in mind that this does take some time and it will be very likely that it's heavily guarded. Then let's not forget that while the AT-AT is exposed, the rebels do actually need to attack it and be able to destroy it. Failure to prioritize this means that your team's hard work in capturing those objectives is going to waste. Like Supremacy, Walker Assault maps are usually the largest and full-scale versions available. However, Walker Assault is a linear progression more akin to Turning Point, where sections of the map become available as the walkers move forward and new uplinks are introduced to the game. It also offers a wide variety of combat scenarios against infantry, vehicles, heroes or villains, and multiple distances. Because of that, your loadout should be just as versatile and able to handle anything the game can throw at it, or at the very least be suited for taking on specific roles depending on your playstyle. So with that being said, there isn't just one loadout to rule them all, but I am going to point out some individual items that are going to work great for this specific game mode, while also giving you my choice for traits and blasters. To start things off, the jetpack. This is an obvious necessity. It's used for positioning, closing distance, escaping to live. I could talk about all day how important this item really is. After that is the personal shield. It is perfect for blocking incoming attacks while capturing objectives. Do keep in mind that with the recent buffs to Cycler Rifle and the release of the Scatter Gun in the Outer Rim DLC, this strategy can be countered, although probably not very often because this is a big game mode. Then we have the smoke grenades. They're another great way to cover an objective and easily capture it. I have been seeing tons of videos popping up of people using this strategy. Not only are they playing objectively, but they're wrecking a whole team, getting a lot of kills as the enemy blindly rushes in to try and recapture it. After that is ion shot or ion explosives. You may not normally use these if you are more of an infantry player that plays other game modes, but I would highly suggest taking it on either faction during Walker Assault. As rebels, you really need to put out as much damage as possible during the short period of time when the AT-ATs are vulnerable. As Imperials, you can effectively take out turrets or starships that are wrecking havoc on your AT-ATs. Then last is the new Dioxis grenades. While the Dioxis grenades may not be that powerful as a regular grenade against infantry, they do a great job of at least keeping people off the objective for a certain period of time. This is especially awesome in game modes where players are usually running personal shield, as it cannot block against this deadly gas. That is all for individual star cards, but let's talk about traits. Normally I will choose something that is going to work best with the rest of my loadout. The smoke grenade technique is much more about being stealthy, and so in turn it makes sense to use the scout trait and even maybe something like scan pulse. This way you can effectively drop the smoke, sneak your way in, and then scan pulse to see what's going on around you. Keep in mind though that scan pulse will drop off the target once they stand directly in the smoke. The idea is to use it to see them coming up before they enter your zone and be able to kill them before they can get to the objective. If not using stealth tactics, I'll generally run bodyguard. There is a whole lot of vehicles in Walker Assault and therefore a lot of players running with explosives. Constantly clashing with the enemy team in close quarters combat means a lot of random rockets, grenades, and thermal imploders as well. With Bodyguard, even just on rank 1, we can easily offset this and keep ourselves going. While everyone else was finished off by that random thermal imploder, you will have survived and be free to cap the objective. Then I gotta say, Walker Assault is just one of those game modes where there's so much going on at any given time and many things you have to consider. Trying to get it all covered in one loadout is really difficult. So having something like Bounty Hunter, which can feed you tons of great goodies for multiple situations, will be a lot of fun and is such a good toolkit to keep with you. You never know when you're going to need that random thermal, imploder, or rocket at just the right time, causing some real damage or possibly winning the game. However, keep in mind with Bounty Hunter, because your pickups are dependent on your kills, I highly suggest using a more infantry-oriented loadout with items like Pulse Cannon or Cycler Rifle, rather than vehicle or objective-based ones that I mentioned before. If you're using something like smoke grenades and a personal shield with Bounty Hunter, you would be getting much less kills than you could before and therefore much less pickups. So focus on killing infantry, and once you start getting your pickups, then you will have plenty of items that you can use towards the objective or vehicles or whatever to benefit your team. This way you have a much more balanced loadout overall that syncs well with your trait. So I highly recommend this for more infantry focused players. Now that we have looked at star cards, we have looked at traits, what about blasters? For the most part, you're going to want something that works well with long to medium ranges, but will let you get in close and win gunfights on those uplinks. Or you can pick something that does one of the two. So for all-round blasters that can fit every purpose and won't serve you wrong, you definitely want to go with the A280C, the E11, or the EE3. If you've watched my videos, then you would know the A280C is a great high rate of fire weapon with great accuracy and low recoil that will fire a large amount of shots before overheating. It's going to be especially helpful for fighting multiple enemies on the objectives, putting out a lot of damage on exposed Walker, especially if you're using Ion Shot. And of course, you may not win every gunfight, but you never really have to think about it when you're using it. It's a very point and shoot, straightforward blaster that's just going to let you focus on the objectives and the tactics. Then we have the E11. It's very similar to the A280C in many ways, but trades high rate of fire for higher damage output. So it has a slightly faster time to kill and will really compete a little bit better in heads-up gunfights on the objectives. So if you're more focused on killing infantry and being up close and personal, you have great accuracy, then the E11 might be for you. Then finally, the EE3 is also a super accurate blaster that will easily hit targets from as far as you can shoot, hence why I gave it the name Sharpshooter in a previous video. Just try to keep in mind that this blaster is a very high risk, high reward, and while skilled players may be able to achieve huge kill streaks, the average player will more than likely be frustrated with its do or die burst fire mechanics. Now at this point I know what some of you are saying, but Otaku, I like to sit back and snipe. Or Otaku, I'm really good at staying just in close quarters combat scenarios. So for you, I would say there are other alternatives as well. For long distance shooting, the T21B is an obvious choice. With its very sniper rifle-like behavior, this blaster will let you pick off opponents from across the map. However, if you bring this into a heads-up fight in close quarters, you are likely to lose. Then, like I just mentioned, the EE3 is actually really great from shooting at a very far distance. While it doesn't have the best time to kill, you will be able to hit your targets. For close quarters combat players, I would suggest using the SE14C for one reason alone. It has the fastest time to kill of any close quarters weapon in the game, including the new Outer Rim DLC blasters. Since the destruction of the DL44 in previous patches, the 14C is the new reigning champion and is well worth learning to use. Alternatively, the DH17 is not that far behind in terms of performance and will be better suited for players that can't handle the burst fire mechanics or don't have great accuracy. So if you find yourself constantly in close quarters combat as opposed to engaging at medium or long distance, consider using one of these instead. Then as always, if you want more information on each of these blasters, links for that are in the description below. Now that we have all that sorted out, let's talk strategy. Winning at Walker Assault is going to be a team effort no matter how you look at it. Obviously, if your team is moving together, pushing objectives, clearing out enemies, then capturing the objective is quite simple. You walk up, hold down the button, and success. However, more than likely your team is a bunch of zombies, so it's up to you to win the game. Luckily, just one player constantly capturing an objective can actually make a difference. So with that being said, these are some of the best strategies for taking uplinks by yourself. So as I mentioned before, it's going to depend a lot on using your loadout effectively. The first method is using scout trait scan pulse with smoke grenades. You sneak up as close as possible to the objective, using scan pulse to spot enemies and take them out before they can react. Then when you are close, throw your smoke grenade to cover yourself and go up for the capture on the objective. At this point, once you got it, you want to keep using scan pulse to see when enemies are coming and then attempt them to take them out before they can reach you. Keep in mind that due to the positioning of some objectives and the map design and other variables, this is not always going to work. There is no way to sneak yourself into an open field on Hoth, and the smoke will not cover you anywhere near as effectively in a big open area on a white map. So with that being said, pick and choose your targets. Now this next strategy is actually meant for those big open areas that you can't take using the first one. For this you will need a jetpack, personal shield, and a little bit of luck. The idea is to get as close as possible, then jetpack towards the objective, and as soon as you land or right as you're in the air, pop your personal shield, run for the objective, and just hope to capture it. Be aware that players nearby could be using something to counter you, or simply run up and melee you before you get to the point. Either way, this is pretty much a kamikaze attack, as resorting to this is almost always because there are too many enemies or you simply cannot win, and so ninja capping was your only hope. So expect to get slaughtered afterwards. Now I'm sure there are plenty of other strategies to taking the objective, but most of them are just a variation of these two, which are the most widely used and easily done by anyone. So let's move on from capturing the objective to defending the objective. So if players are using one of the methods I just described to capture the objective, then I suggest using the new Dioxis to clear them out. As soon as you see any smoke on your objective or someone trying to kamikaze jetpack, simply throw your grenade on the objective and it will force them off. Booby trapping the objective is also always helpful. Just be careful not to stand too close to your own explosives, as one grenade from the enemy team can set off a chain reaction and take out your whole team. Then of course, having a defender-based loadout on the ready is always good at any time. I often find myself changing loadouts depending on how well my team is doing and if we are defending or constantly trying to attack/recapture. And that is pretty much all the advice I can give you for that, so let's talk about the walker phase next. As in, the very important phase when the walker is exposed. And you may be thinking, how is there any strategy for this? You simply do damage and try to fend off the rebels. Wrong. There are plenty of tricks you can do to give yourself an edge during this round. The first thing is to prepare yourself. Both sides have plenty of notification telling you when crap is about to go down, so this is your chance to get yourself into position and do whatever it is you plan on doing. For rebels, I highly suggest that if you don't have your vehicle damaging loadout on, then you die, equip it, and respawn. If you can, get yourself into a turret. They are going to do much more overall damage than anything else you can put out. Then, while aiming at the AT-AT, try to go for its underbelly, as this is its weak spot and it will take 1.5 to 2 times more damage if hit in the correct location. And finally, get ready for the next set of objectives, as a lot of players seem to take forever to reposition on to the next set, and you could have controlled it for a good few minutes before anyone else even bothers to show up. The same thing goes for Imperials. This is the time to pull out your backup loadout that is specifically designed for taking out StarCraft turrets or hunting down infantry that are busy shooting away. It is imperative that you don't let them tow cable your AT-AT, and also be wary of the satellite dish looking turrets, as they can put out insane amounts of damage, but they're also the easiest to counter, because the player controlling it is simply exposed in the back. Then just as the rebels, get your butt to those next uplinks as quickly as possible. Forget about the stragglers, they're just a waste of time. Overall, Walker Assault is a great game mode and gives you one of the most immersive experiences a Star Wars fan could ask for. Hopefully with this video you can go out there, kick some butt, and have fun. Or at the very least, just not suck. Thank you guys for watching. Make sure to like, subscribe, or even donate to support the channel. Then one day when I'm rich and YouTube famous, I'll invite you guys out to my gaming house and we can order some pizza and hookers. I mean, who doesn't like pizza? Come on. I'll see you guys next time, but until then, as always, may the Otaku be with you.